of the next times I go to Kona, crazy thing, I'm reading through the scriptures, because in our church, we read through the Bible every year. And we're in Numbers chapter 8. And so I read Numbers chapter 8, and I never noticed Numbers chapter 8 before. I've read it, but it just, I don't get it. I get it, but it has nothing to do with me. I just kind of browse through it. I mean, it's one of those books you kind of fly through. But Numbers 8, verse 23, the Lord spoke to Moses saying, this applies to the Levites from 25 years old and upward. They shall come to do duty in the service of the tent of meeting. And for the age of 50 years, they shall withdraw from the duty of service and serve no more. They minister to their brothers in the tent of meeting by keeping guard, but they shall do no service. And I thought, what? And reason why it jumped out to me was I was 50 years old that year. And I'm going, wait, from 25, and I wrestled with the Lord. I go, so you're telling me that if I lived in Old Testament times, now that I'm 50, I would have to retire from my service? And I seriously had this battle with the Lord. I go, that's crazy, because I feel so strong. I mean, honestly, physically at 50, that was the best shape. I believe that was the best shape of my life. Honey, would you agree? I was ripped at 50. No, I was pushing it hard, CrossFit, lifting. I mean, I was impressed with myself. I'm just going, God, I feel, Andy, what? Wasn't I? Okay. Thank you, specimen. I like that word. I mean, I'm going, God, physically at 50, I feel strong. I feel like mentally I'm there. I've got all this background in ministry. So why would you have me step down for some 25-year-old? And now all I'm supposed to do is kind of protect him? And God revealed to me, he goes, look, what are you going to do? If you wait till you're 75, then that kid doesn't get a chance till he's 50. You wait till you're 100. If you live to be 100, that guy doesn't get to start till he's 75. He goes, there's a pattern here. I wanted you, while you still had the energy at 50, to guard the next generation. To protect, these are your children. And I realized, whoa, he says guard. That was a word from the Lord. These are your children. Protect your children. And God has been revealing to me this last month, remember the word I spoke to you out of Numbers 8. In fact, when I went home to the elders, in San Francisco, of my church, I go, man, when I read Numbers 8, God was clear to me, I need to step down. You guys, I think God's telling me to step down as elder, and I just kind of support you guys. And then one of my elders go, ooh, I forgot to tell you. When we were in Kona, some old man, I don't know who he was, said, tell Francis to read Numbers chapter 8. And I go, and you forgot to tell me that? That's pretty significant too. This is why we don't want these 25-year-olds, but I go, whoa, that was a word from the Lord. And so I'm trying to eat, and it was actually, I think it was Isaac, when you, at one of the meetings here, you said something about stewarding. When the Lord speaks to you, stewarding those words well. And my wife actually confronted me after hearing you say that. Thanks. And saying, hey, that word from YWAM, did you steward that well? I go, you're right. That this next season isn't about you, Francis. It's about you, while you have the energy, building up this younger generation and guarding them and leading them and making sure they avoid some of these pitfalls of pride and lust and greed, so that they can actually let them lead, but you be right there guarding them, that they don't fall into some of these traps. Because sometimes we've heard guys like me that will preach till we're 90 years old, and now suddenly we're saying things that don't even make sense, boring people to death, but we're not going to let go because we want to stay in charge. And that's hurt the church because we didn't pass it on at an age young enough to where we would actually protect them and guide them and guard them and lead them. You know, I think that's what a lot of this is about this week. I've got these 2 candles. These candles represent me and my son. I love my son. They represent me and my son. And I know your initial thought is, okay, there's you and there's your son. Nope. I'm the candle that's been burnt down to almost nothing. I've lived my life. What is the point of lighting me and putting this up on it, some candlestick holder? And Mike is like, I don't know, way down here. It's just, no, but I want you to think about this. Like, I recognize the wisest thing I can do is take whatever light I have and light some of you 25-year-olds. You've got a whole lifetime of service ahead of you. And I seriously, this next season of my life, because before this month, I was saying, God, you are going to show me what I'm supposed to do in this next season of life. And he's revealed it to me over this month. And he's shown me so clearly, this is you. It's not about you. You've done what you need to do. And now your responsibility is to protect these children, to build into them, to start a new generation of power that's united. And so if you're in this room, I want you to think about this next season of life. Man, I've taken this seriously. See, I took my kids, before I came here, I took them to Alaska. And I told them, look, no telephones, we're not using cell phones, we're not using any screens, no iPads, no movies, nothing. Because I want your mind to get clear again. I see what's coming, and now more clearly I understand what's happening at the end. And it's my responsibility to get my kids, who have a full life in front of them, strong enough to survive what's coming. And so my 15-year-old son isn't with me here in Kansas City. You know why? Because at the end of the trip to Alaska, I thought, man, I want him to be strong. I need him to know how to sacrifice. And I talked to him, I go, hey, if I could talk to one of these Alaskan fishing boat captains, and if they agree to take you on one of those ships, to where you learn how to work like day and night and keep up with like 5 grown men on one of those crazy fishing boats, I think it'd be good for you to learn how to work like that and sacrifice like that and be strong like that. Would you do it? He says, yeah, Dad. So he's in the middle of the Gulf of Alaska right now on a fishing boat these last 2 weeks. Hardly see, and then we'll FaceTime. I've only gotten through to him once. And I'm just so proud of him. I go, man, you're becoming a man, dude. This is it. Because I'm thinking about your future. I'm doing this because I love you, man. I want you to know what it means to endure and persevere, because hard times are coming. See, this is the role that we are in. Okay, so I hope if you're 50, 60, 70, you're not just thinking, oh, how come there's no retreat for me? Or there's not enough are you still thinking about yourself? No, the send is the retreat for you. To build into the next generation, to light these candles with everything you've learned. It's time for you to invest and protect this next generation. And so I'm pumped about it. I know this is a thing of God. I've heard all the stories, seen all the signs and everything else, and he's put it in my heart. I must decrease you know? And even as a father, I'm telling my kids, I need to decrease. And God has to increase as your father. There needs to be a shift now. He's your true father. And I can get you closer and closer to him because he's the one you can depend on. It's not about dad anymore. It's not about us anymore. That's what the send is about. Man, most of you know, most of us grew up in a generation in a youth group that was not thinking about seeking the face of God. And I've been blown away, not just here at IHOP, but other churches in Kansas City and youth groups that I've been to where I see teenagers that are praying till like 1 a.m. just to seek the face of God. Teenagers, groups of them, a couple times a week. Because they want to, I go, no one talked like that when I was in youth group. I'm seeing a generation that is seriously saying, I'll go anywhere. That was not my thinking as a teenager, as a Christian teenager in youth group. I was not considering being sent. But there's a generation right now, and they're serious. And so what are we going to do with our lives? With what's left? Make more about ourselves, buy stuff for ourselves, or pour into the next generation and go, you know what? I want my kids to grow up in a different kind of church than what I grew up in. I want them to grow up in a church where people don't betray each other and slander each other and divide over every little thing. I want them to grow up in a church and form churches where they take a stand and they speak out against injustices in the world. They don't just hide. This whole Bonhoeffer spirit that we've been talking about, we believe in this. And we see God has begun something here. And I'm just begging you all, jump in with us. Protect this next generation. Don't fumble this. Don't blow this. Don't get so focused on yourself. I had to tell my whole family, you guys have followed me around long enough. You followed me to San Francisco, to Hong Kong and back. And you know what? Now it's my time to build into you what is God calling you to do, and I'm going to support you. It's not about Francis Chan anymore. It's about Zeke. It's about Ellie. It's about Mercy. It's about Rachel. It's about Peter and Justin, Claire. It's about them, and that's what I'm devoted to, and that's what I believe the message God has called me to send to you is set that example. Let's not betray one another anymore. Let's set a new example. Let's not be about ourselves anymore, and let's be about the next generation. And so with that, I want